Show up 5 minutes before the end. We'll ask them to close in prayer.
We'll ask him to pay the bill.
I know this feels very awkward to be in a ginormous auditorium with 2 rows of people and us standing up as these superior officers. But for the sake of our live stream, which is literally going around the world, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. Where's the camera? Is it there? Right there. So hopefully you are all joining us okay. We have folks from Europe, from Brazil, from Florida, from Owen Sound that are joining us. So maybe we can get Lori's mic on. There we go. Awesome. So let me have a word of prayer, and we're going to go like 0 to 500 miles an hour because we have a lot of stuff to cover. And we know that you're anxious to get into study hours, so we don't want to take up too much of your time. So let's pray. Lord, we just are so excited about this opportunity to go to your land and to envision the Bible in ways that most here have never been able to do. And we're just looking forward to how you will speak to our hearts through this trip. We thank you that we can have this time together. We thank you for the technology that allows us to push it around the world so others can join us. And we pray that all of that technology would work well for us tonight. Father, help us to be clear in what we're communicating. May we answer many questions and just prepare all of us really well for this incredible adventure. So we commit our time to you in Jesus' name, amen. So welcome to our final orientation. I'm glad that you're all here. This is a pretty important one. We had an orientation back in December with some basic information, and that was really intended to be something to help you get ready for like buying stuff over the Christmas break, whereas this one really has a lot more content to it about the trip itself. And we are going to have a Q&A time at the end, so if you have a question, maybe just hang on to it. Even folks joining us by live stream will put the email address and the the phone number that you can text your questions to, and we will answer those at the end in our Q&A time.
You can actually send your texts and emails at any point. I'll just gather them and answer, but only answer them at the end.
And by the way, those of you that have not met my dear wife, Lori, here she is in all of her splendor and glory.
I do exist.
And she is my right hand, like more
right hand,
both
left
hands,
hand, right foot, left foot.
In Israel. She runs a lot of the details in the background, for sure, and I'm just very, very grateful.
I do that on purpose so that he can't go without me. He
That's right.
He went once
Absolutely.
without me, and I said, never again.
Never again.
Never again.
So I think this is number 11 for you.
11 for me and 13 for you.
Yeah, 13. So like 13 is not a good number, so pray for me that I'll have a good trip. No, I don't believe in that stuff. But really, always excited to go back. And you're going to discover that it will draw you back probably a second time if God opens the door, because it tends to get into your heart. So I have a number of categories of things I want to share with you. One is just a brief description of the group, because we now finally know the total makeup of the group. That is last year's picture. So just remember, next year, it's your picture that'll be up on the screen for the next team. We have a total of 85 people on the trip, which is the largest that we've ever done. The largest trip prior to this was 68 people. Those of you that like statistics, here they are. 39 single ladies, 34 single men, so the women will win by 5. 6 married couples, including
Peter
right
and
over
Debbie.
here, Peter and Debbie Wallace, who are with us. We have 66 first-year students, 2 second-year students. You need to represent your class really well. 10 staff members, 6 alumni, and we have 2 guests that are joining us who have been very involved in the ministry at Word of Life in Korea, and so they are joining the team as well. Not only is it the largest group of people numerically, but it's also the largest in terms of the number of campuses participating. So we have staff, students, and alum from 6 BI campuses. So that would be New York, Florida, Ontario, South Korea, Hungary, and Brazil. So pretty amazing spread of people numerically, but also where they're all coming from. And in terms of New York staff, just so you know who from here is coming, there's Lori and myself, Peter and Debbie Wallace, and then Tim Pruitt, who works in the admissions office, is on the trip as well. Final little statistic is, where do they all come from? 57 from the United States, 8 from Canada,
Canada.
14 from Korea, 3 from Japan, 2 from Brazil, and 1 from Taiwan. So this is going to be a very international trip. You can even see it a little bit in this picture from last year. There's quite a blend of people in there from many, many campuses. So, yes, ma'am.
Before you go on from that slide, I just want all of you to look at what they're wearing. They're not wearing anything great. It's not a fashion show. You want to come comfortable. This is about the only picture you're going to see of was going to say hardware. It's not hardware. Clothing, there we go, is this picture. So it's basically t-shirt and jeans, t-shirt and shorts, t-shirt and capris. This was this is the average day. This was about as warm as it got, except for one day at the Dead Sea.
All right, so let me talk about packing, okay? A few things about packing, just sort of general overall things. You have two pieces of paper that we handed out. One is this Israel trip study trip information sheet. This is not the first time you've seen it. We went over a couple of points in December. Those of you on the live stream, I did send these documents out early this morning, so hopefully you've had a chance to check your email. You should have received them earlier today. I am not going to highlight every bullet point, but I do want to highlight a few of these and say a couple things about them, and Lori will jump in from time to time. For example, the third bullet point down, all major credit cards are accepted in Israel, but as you begin to prep for the trip, we advise that you call your credit card company if you intend to use a credit card over there. Discover Card typically does not work really anywhere in Israel, but Visa, MasterCard, generally fairly common. But you would want to call your company and advise them that you're going to be there, because obviously a weird charge coming out of the blue from the Middle East is going to look a little bit odd. So just call the number on the back of the card, let them know the dates that you're traveling, and let them know that you'll be passing through Turkey, okay, because we have an Istanbul layover. So if you use your credit card at that airport, that's going to come across from that country, from Turkey. So that would be a good thing for you to pass on to them. I'm skipping a couple of bullet points going down to the one about power in Israel. It's rated at 220. We talked about this back in December, but let me just re-highlight it a bit. Most of you probably will not need to spend a lot of money getting ready for the power conversion, because most stuff works pretty well across the board voltage-wise. So how do you find that out? Well, you look on the back of your converter, of your power supply. Let's say this is the power supply for a computer, and you can see the little yellow arrow there pointing to the 100 to 240. That's the range of voltage that your machine will take. So you're fine. You don't need to convert the voltage. Most computers, all the cell phones, iPhones, all kinds of electronic equipment, generally all works on 100 to 220. The one exception tends to be hair dryers. So that may be one thing you want to think about. Who would have ever thought? I know, Carmine, that's a disappointment for you, but anyway.
Hair dryers, actually, some of them are travel hair dryers or international. They have a little switch on them, usually out near the handle, if it's going to be converted or not.
So if all of your stuff handles 220 power, then all you need to get is one of these little physical adapters. It's that small, okay? It's very, very small. And all it does is it takes your regular 2-pin that we're all used to and pushes it to a different type of pin. And so you just plug your machine in there and plug it into the wall, and you're going to be fine. So if you're wondering, like, okay, is this a big pricey item? No. There's one for $6. I've seen them cheaper. In fact, that one straight up says it's for Israel. Although actually Israel and Europe are all on the same kind of plug. So that's if you don't need to convert voltage, and hopefully that's the case for most of you. If for some reason you got this equipment that you absolutely must run and it doesn't handle 220, well, then you would have to go out and invest in something like this. This is an actual power converter that will take the 220 and change it to 110. And obviously a little bit more expensive. You're looking about $25 there for a piece of equipment like that. So we wanted to mention that about power.
If you're one that doesn't have a hairdryer that converts, up to date, so far every time we've gone, every hotel has a hairdryer except for one night. There's one night, and that's our Dead Sea swim night. That's the only night that we don't have hairdryers in our hotels.
So your hair the next morning is caked with salt and sticking way out here. No, it's not really true. Next bullet point, cell phones. Like if you're thinking of using your cell phone in Israel, I mean, Israel is a modern country. They got cell phone coverage, but you would want to check with your service provider and see what would be involved with that. You want to be careful, because if you don't intend to use it and then you access their network, it might actually charge you something without you intending for that. So that might be something you want to look into. I'm jumping down 2 or 3 more bullet points where it talks about factoring in the change to daylight savings time. Israel's going to be 6 hours ahead of us at first, but then partway through the trip, we switch to 7 hours ahead, okay, on March 23rd. So, you can let folks know, like, of the time change. If your family members want to know what time it is, that's how that's going to work.
Time zones in Israel are interesting because they don't all change at the same time. Certain parts of Israel change at different times. That's why at one point we're at 6, one point at 7.
Actually, in this case, hon, it's because the U.S. changes on this case. But you're right, and sometimes that's the case. But
I stand corrected.
yeah, so
Amazing.
small,
He knows more
small
than I
correction,
do.
small
Now
correction.
you know why you see him up here all the time.
And the last bullet point is a little practical note about public restrooms in Israel. They sometimes cost you 2 shekels to go into them. That's about 50 cents, roughly. Actually, a little less than 50 cents. Just a nice little thing to keep in mind.
I can think
Very
of
practical point to
I can
keep
think
in
of
mind.
3 places right now that you would have to pay 2 shekels if you needed the restroom at that point.
All right, a few things on the last page, okay, to really get back to our subject of packing. On the last page, the rest of it you can read on your own, but I do want to highlight the last 2 big points there. Baggage limits, luggage limits, a 150-pound suitcase, and you can see the maximum sum of the 3 dimensions. So many of you probably are very familiar with traveling, so this is good for you guys. But in case you've never done it, you take your suitcase and you add the 3 dimensions up, and they have to be 62 inches or less. So the height, width, and length, and it's got to be 62 inches or less. 50 pounds, I think, is 22 kilograms, I believe. We really can't afford to take more than 1 big suitcase, not just so much for the airline, but it really is more for how much we can fit on the bus in Israel. I mean, there's a limited amount of space in the luggage compartment. This is not a trip where you're going to need 3 pairs of shoes, your wedding dress, your tuxedo, like 15 changes of clothing of all different types. You know, it really is, as Lori pointed out, pretty laid-back trip. So shoot for 1 big suitcase, and then you can see you have room for 1 17-pound carry-on, and again, you got the maximum dimensions there, so you can add those up. It really should say 9 plus 16, or I guess what they're saying is 9 by 16 by 21 inches.
Yeah.
So, and then you have a little list here at the bottom.
Can I make a comment about that carry-on?
Sure.
That carry-on really needs to be your backpack, I would suggest, that you're going to be carrying in Israel every day with you. So you don't really want to load it up too heavy for on the airplane, because you're going to have to carry that around with you as we change hotels every time. So you might want to throw an extra set of clothes in that backpack for on the airplane, some snacks, your book, your tablet, your phone, or whatever. But that's really all you want to or maybe your Bible, your quiet time, your homework, those things. But other than that, you don't want to load it up with all of your clothing and have your suitcase totally full too, or you're going to run into traveling issues here, there, and everywhere.
All right.
Make sense?
And then, yep.
So, like, with the Bible stuff, we can carry that, like, go through Turkish, like, Kairos Muslim.
Yeah, that's
The
not a problem.
question is, can we carry our Bible through security if we transfer at a different airport? And the answer is yes. That is not an issue to have your Bible within airport security wherever you're going.
The only place we'll have a problem with that is going up on the Temple Mount, and we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that in country. We can't bring our Bibles up there. They will take them away from you.
Speaking of Bibles, if you're planning to have your Bible, physical Bible with you that you're going to put in your backpack to carry with you every day, unless you're really dedicated and devoted to your massive big Bible, don't bring that one with you, because it's a lot of work to lug that around with you. We've had some students that do it, but it's a lot. We really encourage you to bring a smaller hand Bible, not a pocket Bible, but just a smaller Bible that's not your big, heavy, thick, study, whatever Bible. But if you want to, you're more than welcome to, but just beware it's on your back and in your hand all the time.
Probably a lot of you have it on your phone, so that might be another way you can use it. But it is nice to have a small Bible when you're walking around the sites, you know.
It
You
is.
can kind of read the text, and,
Yeah.
you know, there it is. It's happening right there. That's kind of a cool thing. Not many places in the world where you can do that, right? Like read the Bible, and you're where it happened. So, all right, you have a list there of what to bring. We intend that as a basic list. You can even use it straight out as a checklist if you want. I do want to highlight a couple of things. Obviously, your passport, I put that in big, bold letters. And also your student ID card. Why? Because we get better rates going into some sites with student ID cards. So what we're going to do, by the way, when we get there is we're going to collect all the passports, and we're going to collect all the ID cards, and we're going to keep them all in one safe location. One thing that can really mess a trip up is one person losing their passport somewhere in country. So we keep them in one location, and having the ID cards, when we go into a site, we can just show them the pile of ID cards, and we get, in some cases, a pretty substantial, rebate. And we're trying to save as much there because we've factored that into your pricing. So bring your ID card.
The exception would be for the passports for us collecting them would be if you're an alum, if you're staff, if you're an adult, you're more than welcome to keep them if you're confident that you won't lose them. Otherwise, you can give them to me and I'll be confidently keeping them for you.
Couple things on this list. We talked about, you see some clothing items there. You know, one of the great things to have that I really like to have is a pair of pants where you can disconnect the legs, you know, and take the...
Zip
I
off.
said zip off pants the last time, and I'm not going to say zip off pants this time, although I just said zip off pants.
Cargo
They're not
zip
zip
off
off
the
pants,
leg
okay?
pants.
But you can take the legs off really, really easily. Super practical, because some of the locations we go to, they'll not allow us to wear shorts because of religious sensibilities. So if it's a warm day, you know, you can kind of zip on the longer section, right? And then when you're done, you can zip that back off and you're back to shorts. So that's a great thing to
They
use.
sell them on Amazon. You can get them like at Dick's Sporting Goods.
They
They
still
tend
have
to
them
be
at
a little
Walmart.
on the pricey side. Did you check
Yep,
Walmart? Okay,
yep,
check
they're still on Walmart.
You really only need one pair for this type of weather, and because it doesn't get super, super hot at this trip.
You want to comment about the ladies right there?
Ladies, obviously don't wear anything see-through, but they don't even like you to wear, like if you're good, at some places we have to have, you ladies have to have your shoulders and elbows covered, whereas the guys don't. And that shawl, that sweater, that whatever you're covering your shoulders and elbows with cannot be see-through, like lace or sheer. It has to be a full shawl, colored or whatever, a full sweater. So that's just really important. You actually are gonna, if you're bringing, actually all ladies need to be sure you have a jacket or a sweater or a shawl that can cover your shoulders and your elbows at some point. Now, you're probably going to have a jacket anyway, but if it's a warm day, you're going to want a light sweater or you're going to want a shawl to just throw over yourselves. That's something you're going to have with you, and that's something that you will carry around with you for probably, I think, 3 days. You'll have to have that in your backpack.
Because of the different religiously sensitive sites
so that we can
go
get
into.
in, yeah. Yeah, there was one place I couldn't get into one time because someone else forgot theirs, so I gave them mine, and it's just, we all want to get in, so. And the guys there are some places where your knees have to be covered, and your elbows have to be covered, believe it or not. So, but we'll tell you every day, the day before, what to do.
The day before, at the end of each day, as we're getting back to the hotel, we always get on the mic in the bus and say, okay, tomorrow we expect this for weather, and this is what we need to have for dress tomorrow. So that you know, like, well ahead of time, when you get up in the morning, what you need to think about bringing.
Right now for weather, actually, Tiberias, which is going to be our first few days, it's in the 80s during the daytime and it's in the high 50s at night. Now that means it's 80 at 3 p.m. So it's going to be mid-70s. So right now that's really looking good. Then in Jerusalem, which is our last 5 days, right now, of course we're about 15 days out, aren't we? It's low 70s, so 73 at the most, and in the evenings it's down to 50. That tends to be a little cooler than what it even says because the air is just a little bit cooler. So there you're going to be wearing a t-shirt, jeans, and probably a sweatshirt or a hoodie or something they just throw in your backpack when you get warm during the day. And the Dead Sea, well, it's a given, it's hot. That one day you'll be in shorts and a t-shirt. And girls, you can wear a sleeveless, yes, I was trying to think what I'm saying. You can wear a sleeveless shirt that's Word of Life approved, 3 fingers across the shoulders. You're allowed to wear those, that's no problem.
A little further down, it talks about water shoes or sandals. We have 2 places where you cannot be in the water with something on your feet. One is at the Dead Sea. Without something on your feet. Right. One is the Dead Sea because we're basically walking on salt crystals in there. And
it's
then
worse than rocks at your local beach in Maine, you know.
Yep. And then the second place is Hezekiah's Tunnel, which is we go through on the last day.
And that's because it can be slippery. If you don't have something on your feet, it can be quite slippery.
So bring a pair of water shoes or sandals of some kind.
You can wear flip-flops, but honestly, they flip off your foot in both locations. So you want something that wraps around the back of your ankle.
Yep.
Something cheap, nothing expensive. You can go to Walmart and buy water shoes, flip-flops with a back on them. Don't forget, that's really important.
A couple more things on this list. For those of you that haven't traveled internationally, you might not think of this, but a lot of hotels overseas do not provide like a washcloth. They'll just provide a towel. So if you want to have, and it's on the list there, if you want to have a cloth to wash with, make sure that you bring one. And then at the end of the list, it says there are snack items for your carry-on luggage. Meals on airplanes are kind of unpredictable. So we really, really encourage you to put into your carry-on like maybe a few granola bars or something.
Or energy bars.
Energy bars, something like that. It can be really, really handy. So that's that list. That's all we're going to say about that. And if there's some questions, we'll catch them at the end and try to do all that at one time. So you've got the yellow luggage tags. That you should use on your main carry-on, not carry-on, sorry, checked luggage, okay? So that's very helpful because they're brilliant yellow and it makes it easy to identify our luggage when it comes off the plane for our group. One question, last one about packing, has to do with how much money to bring. And that is a very, very difficult question to answer because it's so subjective. Everybody is kind of all over the map with that. You know, you can see on the info sheet here at the bottom, we tried to give you, I guess at the bottom of the first page, we tried to give you a sense of what souvenirs cost, okay, at the bottom of that first page. You know, those are rough estimates. So let me just say a little bit about souvenirs, and then I'll come back to the issue of how much money. One of the things that's unique about the way we run trips compared to many trips is that we don't do a lot of souvenir shopping during the days where we have a bus. In fact, we tip our bus drivers extremely generously so that we don't stop and spend a lot of time at souvenir shops.
Because when we stop at a souvenir shop and we buy stuff, they get a commission from it.
Yep.
So we make up for their lack of commission and ask them not to stop at the shops.
That isn't to say we won't spend any time. Occasionally we'll have a few minutes here and there, but here's the truth. Basically, everything that you can see out on the road, we're going to see it in Jerusalem when we get to Jerusalem on the last 5 days. So what we tell people is hang off on the, you know, at least the majority of the souvenir shopping until we get to Jerusalem because the pace of the trip's going to slow down. We dump the bus. We're on foot for the last 4 days. And we actually build some time in to go shopping in Old City Jerusalem.
As you see items, if you're because we do have to walk through gift shops to exit some of the sites. As you see things and you really want them and you want to be sure you're going to get it in Jerusalem, come and see me and I'll tell you 90% sure, yes or no, you can get it in Jerusalem.
Yeah, and it's pretty
And
rare
I'll let you know, yeah,
that you won't
just about
find something
everything.
in
There's a
Jerusalem.
couple of things, and I'll warn you about that at those sites. If you want to get this, this is the place to get it. Otherwise, wait till Jerusalem.
Historically, you know, most people bring somewhere in the $50, $60, $70 range, somewhere in there. But again, it's very, very variable. You will not need a dime in terms of your time there from our perspective. Like all the transportation, all the meals, all the housing is all built into the price.
Even
so you
your
don't
meal
need
at the
any
airport.
money.
We have money for you at the airport too.
Yeah, we don't need any money, or you don't need any money in Israel, but obviously everybody likes to have a little bit with them. So, you know, again, very hard to answer that question, but
If you're thinking, if you're like me and you can't go without your Diet Coke for the day, it's going to cost you $3. That's what it costs on the average. So you need to think in terms of that. Everything is more expensive. A bottle of water, we provide you with water, a bottle every day. You also are going to be bringing, hopefully, water bottles. You talked about that, didn't you?
yeah, it's in the list.
Water bottles with a filter in it. But if you decide you just need absolutely have to have a nice cold water bottle, you're going to pay probably $2 to $2.50 for a water bottle. Bottle. You know what I mean.
Bottle.
Totally worth it when you're
A
sweating.
water waddle.
A water waddle.
Yeah, there you go.
He
That's
doesn't
right.
know his left from his right, and I don't know what way to put my
That's
words.
right. You're going to find that out. Like I'm going to say, okay, let's look out the right side of the bus, and I'll be looking that way and pointing that way. So I'm always mixing up my directions. So again, ballpark figure, most people probably bring somewhere around the $50 to $60 range, but you know, some less than that. That's the best that we can say. It really is very subjective. It depends on you, but you don't need money in terms of additional expense related to the trip itself. All right.
You can withdraw money with your credit card, with your debit card over there. There's a bank in Old Jerusalem. Also, we can get it from Shaban, can't they, with their credit
think
card?
so.
We don't recommend you use a credit card to make a purchase, except for at about 4 exclusive stores. Even in Old Jerusalem, we're going to tell you 2, 3 that you can use your credit card. Other than that, do not use your credit card. So if you find something you want to buy it, you're missing money, we'll take you to Shaban. He'll take your credit card. He's very fair, very honest, gives you a great exchange. He'll give you the cash, then you can go buy your item.
Shaban is our favorite merchant in Old City, Jerusalem.
You're
He
going to
knows
find
us
him
very,
quite
very
unique.
well. Yeah.
Very unique man. But he's very good to us.
All the Christian schools, colleges, and seminaries go to Shaban's place. Like you could walk in there and you'll see Dallas Theological Seminary, Moody Bible Institute, like all these banners
it's a little
of
tiny
these
hole
different
in the
schools.
wall.
So Shaban's a nice guy. All right, let's talk about some travel arrangements things now. So for the next couple minutes, my comments really are directed to those of us that are, or those of you leaving from JFK. Lori and I are actually not on the plane with you guys because I go to Israel from Korea. She's coming over from Montreal a day early. So Peter and Debbie Wallace are going to be the lead on getting everybody down to the airport and everybody, you know, all the details of getting onto the plane. So,
Peter, can you give them your stern obey me look?
that's right. There you go. Bald head. Look for the
If
bald
you,
head.
if you
That's
don't
right.
obey the bald head, I'm going to hear about it.
So our flight leaves JFK at 1:15 p.m., all right? And because we're headed to the Middle East, security can take a little bit longer. So we are leaving plenty of generous time to get there. So those of you that are traveling from the campus here down to JFK, we have a bus that's going down there. It's going to be leaving at 5 o'clock in the morning on Friday, March 16th. We're going to work out the details of when you guys will write the exam, because there's an exam that morning that students are going to be writing, and obviously you will not be here for that. But the bus will leave from right out here in front of the Jack Wyrtzen at 5 in the morning. We will have bag breakfasts for everybody, okay? Bacon and eggs, hash browns, everything, blended together into a drink. No, I'm just kidding. It'll be a bag breakfast,
shake.
okay? So at the airport, we should be getting there sometime around 5 hours after that, so between 10 and 11, something like that, depends on traffic. That's well ahead of our flight. We're shooting for, about 3 hours early is what we're shooting for. And they will be handing to you a $10 bill, okay, for you to be able to purchase something to eat for lunch. We do not need to get the receipts back on that. We do not need to get the change back on that, and I'll tell you why, because it's your money. You paid for the trip. So and those of you that are flying from elsewhere, we've taken that out of your expense because you're getting to Israel differently than coming through JFK. But those flying through JFK, we budgeted that in. So we will hand that to you when we get to or they will hand that to you when you get to the airport or on the way down to the airport.
It should be enough for you to buy a meal, like a happy meal. No, not a happy meal. A combo of some kind.
Yep.
But keep in mind, if you tend to buy the more expensive combos, as a general rule, it's going to actually cost you more in the airport. Airport food is always going to cost you $1.50 to $2.50 more than what you would normally pay, like for a combo. So just keep that in mind.
And those of you joining by live stream that are meeting us at JFK, I'm going to send you a document with some instructions about which terminal to go to and who to meet up with, how to connect with Peter and Debbie Wallace, and all those details that you need to know to get on to join us there.
We need to have Debbie and Peter. Can you just come here real quick and show your face to them so that they will know what you look like?
Yeah, I got a picture too on the document as well. But
Okay,
that's them right there.
Nothing like the live thing.
There they are.
Have you guys got them on the camera? No?
They got to walk in here a
Gotta
little bit
walk
more.
over here?
Yep.
There.
There we go. So this is Peter and Debbie Wallace.
And Peter.
Debbie is my administrative assistant, and I would be dead without her. And Peter
Absolutely,
is, of course,
I would be too.
Peter is her favorite husband. So there you go.
It's the one she's bringing
The
on the
one and
trip
only.
anyway.
That's right.
He won the
So-
draw.
And their daughter, Kelsey, has been to Israel, and so they're catching up with her now. So getting caught up by going.
you.
So there you go. That's Peter and Debbie. For those of you on the live stream, you have seen them now. But there will be a
Once-
picture on the document I send you of them, so you know.
They are in charge of the group until we get to Israel. Once we're in Israel, they are participants with you, and you come to us with all your cares and concerns. But to get there, they're your people.
The other thing, too, keep in mind, everybody, is that when we fly back to JFK, like, our part ends when we land. So everybody's on their own. That was very clear from the beginning to get home from there or wherever you're going from there. Because we're still in the middle of the March break, okay? Still in the middle of spring break. So we're not, like, everything is included, like even meals right up until those wheels hit the ground, okay? So after we climb out the plane, everybody's on their own from that point forward.
We will help you get through security, make sure you
Yep.
get through security on the other side for your ticket, your plane, your person, your wheels, whatever it is you're going to be leaving with next.
And we land at 10:45 in the morning, okay, barring any delays. So this is a Wednesday. We're actually leaving at 1 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday, and we get here at 10:45 on the same morning because we're following the sun around the planet, right? So it's like, it's longer than it seems. It is longer, but time seems to compress because of the way we're crossing time zones. So 10:45. So you just need to keep in mind you'll need to find something for lunch on that day at the airport or out of the airport, whatever your plans are. That's up to you guys. All right, let's talk about the actual trip over. In case you don't know, you don't have a sense of where we're going here, okay? Our first flight, all the way over to Istanbul, Turkey, okay? That's the long one. We will arrive, we leave here at 1:15 p.m. in the afternoon, our time. We arrive at 7:05 in the morning, Turkey time. Now, that's kind of weird to say that, but Istanbul time, okay? The flight is 9 hours and 50 minutes long. That kind of flight, you don't measure in hours, you measure it in movies, okay? That's like a 3-movie flight, whatever, 4-movie flight. But I'm going to encourage you to not do that, but rather to try to get some rest. I'll come back to that in just a minute. But when we land in Turkey, okay, it'll be 7:05 a.m. there, but to your body, it'll be like 11:05 p.m. So it's like, it's 11 p.m. basically to your body, but it's 7 a.m., it's the start of the morning. So we really, really encourage you to get some rest on the plane. The next little leg, you'll see right here, is very, very short, okay? It's like 2 hours and 10 minutes, okay, to go from Istanbul down to Tel Aviv. So your one chance to really get some rest is going to be on that first flight. My trick, for what it's worth, I take 2 extra strength Tylenol so I don't feel a certain strategic part of my anatomy because it gets kind of sore after a while. And then I take 2 Benadryl because it makes me drowsy. And then I cover my eyes with one of those strap-on things, put 2 earplugs in, and put my seat back, and I get usually, 3 to 5 hours of sleep. Now, that's me. I mean, everybody's
But
wired
you're
differently.
college students. You guys sleep anywhere, like even in the classroom, right? Yeah, so.
But seriously, let me just make this general comment. You guys are investing a lot of money into this
You
trip.
are.
So, like, don't blow
Money
it by
and your-
watching
a lot
4
of your
movies on the way over, get there totally trashed,
Yeah.
and then the first couple days, which are going to be hard anyway, are even more excruciating. So, like, be wise, be good stewards of your own money, and try to get some rest on that flight, that first flight, because that's your chance.
Probably your best chance to sleep is the second half of that flight or the second 2/3 of that flight. If you try to sleep right at the beginning, you probably won't because it's morning time, although you have been up since 3 a.m.
Yeah, and then once we get to Istanbul, there's a lot of wild card components here. It's hard to, sometimes there's flight delays. We don't know exactly what kind of meals, what we're going to ultimately get in the plane. Turkish Airlines is very, very good, by the way. We wouldn't be using them if we were not pleased with their service. So sometimes we don't need to worry about getting breakfast at the airport because we got fed a very, very good breakfast on the plane. And sometimes we wouldn't even be able to get breakfast because the flight got delayed, so we don't have enough time in Istanbul to get breakfast. But we are supposed to have a 4-hour, 3-hour layover. We arrive at 7:05 and we leave at 11:20. So that's 4 hours, basically. So in that case, what will happen is, once again, we will be pulling out the cash, Peter and Debbie, and they'll be handing you $15, okay? Because we know that it's a little more expensive to get something to eat there at the Istanbul airport than it is here. So, but that, of course, will depend on those different factors that I talked about just a moment ago. So, you should not have any difficulty using United States money in any international airport, and Istanbul has many
They
options
like your cash.
for restaurants, okay? So,
Bathrooms are free.
yep. And we don't need any change back. We don't need any receipts. Just if you have change, just hang on to it, use it, whatever. So keep that in mind. All right, so that's as far as the Istanbul layover is concerned. Okay, let's talk about the actual arrival in Israel. We're arriving at 11:20 in the morning on Saturday morning.
11:20 a.m. Israeli time.
Israel time. It's still going to be kind of pretty early in the morning to your bodies, but like subtract 6 hours from that. But that is our arrival time. So the flight, that last little leg that you see there between Turkey and Israel, is 2 hours and 10 minutes. Okay, and we actually back up 1 hour on the clock between Turkey and Israel. So by the time you get to Israel, you are completely confused about what time it is. Just look for the clock, okay? But we're telling you right now, we're supposed to get there, you're supposed to get there at 11:20.
But you know what? You don't have to worry because we take care of you. We tell you exactly what to do, where to be, when, what to wear, where to go, when to eat. You can choose when you go to the bathroom, but well, even that sometimes I'll tell you now or never for the next 4 hours. But we'll take care of you.
Yeah, one of the things that we're going to pass, that the Wallaces will pass out to you at the Istanbul airport is a little slip of paper that looks like this. We don't want to give it to you now. It's too easy to lose.
Yeah.
But this little slip of paper contains the 2 main places that we're going, because when you go through customs, they might ask you, like, where are you staying? So you will have week 1, basically, we're at that holiday resort. Week 2, basically, we're at that hotel in Jerusalem. When they ask you, like, what are you coming for? This is not the time to talk about the arms smuggling that you're doing. No, I'm just kidding. Scratch that from the live stream. I put it sort of a typical sentence there. What are you doing? You're visiting Israel as a tourist. You're going to be there for 10 days with other students from the United States. Now, don't lift the paper up and read this to the guy, okay? That's not the point. It's just I'm giving you a little example of what you can, like, really, that summarizes what you're doing. And if there's ever any question, and there never has been, by the way, I've actually put my cell phone there, and my cell phone will be active in Israel, okay? So, but it's never happened. And they love tourists, so we've never, ever had an issue at immigration.
You will go one by one through customs. You can't go together. I mean, husbands and wives can go together, families can go together, but individuals, you got to go one by one. And there'll be probably 3 or 4 kiosks open for you to go through.
So as you get this little slip of paper, what we recommend is put it in your passport so that you got it all together. Now, there's a very slim chance that they might ask you to fill a form out on the plane. They haven't done that for the last 3 years, I think. But if they do, they likely would ask you for the address where you're going to stay. So you will have it with you right there on the plane. So, but again, we have never, ever had an issue going through customs. They love tourists. Tourism is up like huge in Israel. Like it was up like 20% last year. And so they're very, very accustomed to large crowds of people arriving in country. We will also hand out to you, they will hand out to you at the airport another form that looks like this. You're seeing both sides of it in this shot. On one side is a timeline of history. The other side is a suggested daily Bible reading. The reason we're handing it to you at the airport in Istanbul is because one of the very productive ways you could spend your short 2-hour flight is to do your first day of reading. Now, this is optional. This is suggested reading. But what we've done here is we have put text. Let me get onto my little laser pointer here, which I, again, always forget to turn on. Every day, okay, so like here is the 17th, Saturday. That's the morning, okay, that you're flying into Israel. And we're going to be going to these 2 places right here, Caesarea Maritima and Mount Carmel, on that afternoon. So it's kind of cool that morning as you're 2 hours on the flight, read those passages of Scripture. There's some others in there too. Actually, the first 2 rows are about Caesarea Maritima. So you can read those and kind of be queued up for what we're going to visit. And then the rest of the trip, you've got each day, like what is the main theme of the day, and then what are some scripture readings. You can incorporate that very nicely into your quiet time in the morning. And you will see here that there's 4 places where you can see chunks of the Gospel of Mark. So Mark chapters 1 through 6 on this day, that's right. Mark chapter 7 to 10, Mark chapter 11 to 14, and Mark 15 and 16. My life verse is Psalm 37:37, which says,
Mark the perfect man. It
There you
does.
go.
Mark the perfect man. You go look it up. It says that in there.
That's only part of the sentence, so it's mark the perfect man and behold the upright. So that's what it actually says.
I mean, take note of.
All right, so we will hand that out to you at the Istanbul airport, which might seem like, why are we getting this in the middle of our flight? It's so that you could use that last 2 hours to read those Bible texts.
It's really worth it.
And yeah, it's a great way to ramp up your investment of your time over there.
Question.
Is this the same as the reading for the class?
The question
Yep,
is this
it
the
is
same as
for
the
the
reading
reading
for the
class.
class? And the answer is?
Yes. So those of you on the elective, thank you for asking that, because those of you doing the elective, this would be a required reading. All right, so those of you watching by live stream, I sent you these 2 documents earlier today, the timeline reading and the reading, as well as the physical addresses in Israel. So check your email, they are there. And I also sent to you guys, joining by live stream, a document that gives you arrival instructions into the airport, kind of like what to expect when you come into the airport, even what it looks like. I got 3 pictures in there so that you can figure out what you're seeing and where you need to meet up with the rest of the group. So that's on a sheet that I sent you earlier this morning. As you come to immigration, there's one thing that often disappoints people, and that is that they do not stamp your passport with an Israeli thing. And the reason is because, I hate to say this, but there are some countries that will not let you into their country if you have an Israeli stamp in your passport. So they do not stamp the passport. What they do is they give you this little visa, okay? It's going to look exactly, well, I'm assuming.
About this big.
It always looks like that. Little teeny slip of paper. And that is actually
A little smaller than that.
that is actually a visa. So it gives you, like this is a B2 visa. You can stay, in this case, allowed to stay till that date, not permitted to work. This is an actual visa document. And you could stick that in your passport as a souvenir later on if you want to. But one thing to note about that is that you actually need that little slip of paper right after you get through security or through immigration. You actually need to scan that little piece of paper to get through a turnstile, okay, to get into
Kinda
the
like at the
luggage
bus
area.
terminal or something, yeah.
So, and then we strongly recommend that you keep it in your
You
passport.
have to keep it, yes.
Yep,
Put it in your passport, yeah.
because on the way out they could ask for it again.
Yeah, or in country, they can ask us for it, and it will be in your passport. I'll have it with me.
Yep. So when you get through there, you will eventually come into, your next stop is your luggage area. Okay, you get your luggage. There's a place there to change your money.
Hopefully, you get your luggage.
Yeah, right. There's a place in there to change your money if you want to change money, but there's also a place to change your money once you get out of the luggage area. So if you see like, boy, there's just a huge line of people changing money here, well then maybe consider coming out to the beyond the luggage area into the what they call the arrivals hall, and there's a place to change money there. When you walk out into the arrivals hall, it's going to look like that. Okay, this is a wide pan shot. Okay, so it's kind of compressed. But we will be standing somewhere here,
Jumping up and down.
and I will have a red Word of Life Bible Institute T-shirt on. Okay, so you can spot us really easily. There are like 4 other flights coming in ahead of yours. So there's already going to be people here that are joining our group that will have already arrived. And so we're going to meet you here, and we're ultimately going to congregate over here on the right-hand side. So worst case, if you can't find anybody, just head on over here to the right side where there's a bunch of chairs. That's where we're congregating. Okay, we're just going to gather everybody together, make sure we're all there, make sure we got all the luggage, do a group picture. Even those of you that are coming from at other times of the day, and I'll be back in touch with you guys again with final details, but that tells you where we're going to be.
That'll be your opportunity to change out of what you've been wearing for a day and a half on the airplane and get whatever you need for that day. I'll tell you what the weather is going to be when you get there, what our weather will be like that day. You can go through your luggage. Try to have packed near the top of your luggage, you know, what you think you'd wear, a clean pair of jeans, clean pair of shorts, clean t-shirt.
Yep.
There's washrooms right there, so you get a chance to change. You get a chance to change over your backpack. Whatever's in your backpack that you don't want to carry that day, you can put it in your suitcase, vice versa. We take about 1 hour to do that. We really run through that quick.
And we want to get on the bus as quickly as we can. The bus meets us right there, of course. And there will be food on the bus for lunch. However, and we'll talk about food in just a minute here, we're going to encourage you, and we'll remind you when you're there, to pull out a couple of food items from your bags of food items that you're going to get tonight. They're all lined up over there on the risers, okay? And we'll talk about that in just a minute. All right, let's switch to another topic. Let's talk about the itinerary of the trip.
Since it's not always guaranteed that we will get our luggage, like there's always some type of like being lost or somewhere else, should we pack a few extra pairs of clothes in our carry-on?
The question is, it could potentially happen that your luggage will not make it there. So should you pack extra luggage in your carry-on? We personally just pack one set for one extra day because somebody else always has something they can lend us if we need it. We've never had luggage not arrive except for one adult on a trip. Other than that, the luggage has always arrived. So you might want to throw an extra pair of jeans, t-shirt, underwear, whatever, boxers, all that stuff. That's not a bad idea, but you really, I think, only need one set. Yeah. Can you read this?
Do we have to check our baggage, or can we just bring like a small suitcase and a backpack?
It's better to check it because the airplanes are really full, and potentially what happens is if you bring a carry-on to check on the airplane, you'll be sitting at one point and your carry-on's way back at the other end because these planes are usually packed out. There's not a seat left, which means the upper racks are full. So I really encourage you to check that one. You don't have to, but I do encourage you to. Yes. Oh, that was a question. Can I bring a smaller carry-on with my backpack rather than a large suitcase, and can I just carry it on the airplane? That was the question.
So are we allowed to have like one carry-on and one personal item, or is it like what's the limit?
The limit for the carry-on onto the airplane is one personal item, purse, laptop, bag, and a carry-on, which the dimensions are there. But like we said, whatever you carry onto that airplane, you're dragging around everywhere with you, plus your large suitcase that's checked underneath. So again, we really encourage you, one large suitcase checked, or one suitcase, whichever size you want, small if you prefer, plus a backpack, and that's it. That's really all that we encourage you to bring. But you potentially can have your backpack plus a purse, backpack, plus a computer bag. But those large roller computer bags that this guy carries around counts as your extra piece on the airplane.
Yeah,
Any other questions
carry on.
here?
Peter has his.
Peter.
Quick question. Is there any guidance about American food being brought into Turkey? Are there any restrictions with that?
Question is, are there any restrictions about bringing American food into Turkey? And no, there are, but for what we're doing, no. You can bring everything that we're giving you in. You can bring snacks in. Don't bring any, I was going to say live fruit, fresh fruit, there we go. Don't bring any fresh fruit, meats, vegetables, that kind of thing. Also, don't bring any of this pack here. This is your peanut butter and jelly packs. Make sure that's always in your checked luggage, because sometimes at security they take this away from you, and I don't know why. But they don't like small little packets like that. So granola bars, power bars, those kinds of things. Yeah, Amy.
Going out from Israel, is it okay to buy halva to bring back?
Question is, going out of Israel, can we buy halva, which is a snack that she knows about from her sister? Can we buy that and bring it out? Yeah, we'll tell you what you can bring out and what you can't bring out. Just about everything as far as food is concerned, you bring out. Most of it you're going to have to put in your checked luggage. But yes. Another question?
There's a question that came in here about when do we meet the large group, and I will send that out to all of you on the live stream, because some of you are actually meeting up with the Cheju group earlier, so I will send a note back out to all of you by email on that.
When you guys on live stream text me, could you just tell me what your name is so we just know who you are? But that's that's the 412 and then the 6250. That was your question. Okay, any other questions on the floor? Oh, one more.
Is there any chance like we can choose who you
Is there any chance that you can choose who you sit to on the plane or not? Depends how much you pay me, is the answer to that one. The answer is we cannot reserve your seats ahead of time. You're going to all be checked in en masse. So when you're checking in, just check in with your friend and ask to be seated together. If that doesn't work, once you get on the plane, just sit beside each other. Just swap out. You're usually booked in 3 groups on the airplane. They distribute you across 3 rows of 5. Somewhere in the airplane, or 3 sets of 5 rows, I should say, in the airplane. So there's groups together, but if you want to sit with someone, your best bud, whatever, just check in together.
You can't take somebody else's seat that's not with our group, though.
Correct. You have to stay within our seats.
You would have to stay within.
So what you do is you find out what seat so-and-so is sitting in and find who has the ticket next to them and say, you have to keep your ticket to check in to walk on the airplane, but once you're on the airplane, within reason, you can sit wherever you want. Don't make too much of a kerfuffle, otherwise they won't let you do that. But if you just kind of do it quietly, they don't really care. But if you start, making a big deal about it, then they're going to say, sit in your assigned seat.
But the best thing is go to the check-in counter with the person that you want to sit with and ask to be assigned next to each other.
Because that's when the seats are assigned, yeah. Yes.
Probably be able to do it.
Question.
Is there going to be coffee at the hotels we stay at?
Is there going to be coffee at the hotels we stay at? And the answer is only in the
morning.
They only serve coffee in the morning. You can go out to a cafe in the evening and get it when we're in Old Jerusalem the last few days, but it's very expensive. It's not cheap, but it's really good if you like coffee, or so he tells me.
It is good. It's
Okay,
very good.
we have a couple other questions coming. Thank you, Guy, for that information. One question is, do we need or can we bring a pillow? That's a question from Katie. You don't need a pillow. There's pillows in all the hotels. You might want a travel pillow for on the airplane, one that hooks around your neck for sleeping, but you don't absolutely have to. I don't recommend you bring your big pillow from home to sleep on the airplane because, again, you're dragging it with you everywhere you go. But if you're like me and it's the only pillow you can sleep with, you check it in your luggage. So I buy one of those bags, Ziploc, those bags that takes the air out, compresses. I could have a memory foam pillow. I put it in there, compress it, away it goes. It's waiting for me when I get there. Here's another one from Megan. It's about clothing. For girls and their shorts, what lengths do they need to be, and can we wear athletic shorts? All clothing regulations, all clothing standards are the same as what we have during the Bible Institute year or during camp and whatnot. So for girls, fingertip length for your shorts. Of course, for everybody, nothing tight-fitting guys, none of the muscle shirts. All of the standard clothing you would wear here and in camp applies for in Israel. Any other questions from the gallery, out and beyond? Yes.
Are we allowed to take sand from outside of Israel?
Can you bring sand from outside of Israel? That's a tricky question. I've never had someone be caught with it, but I've never gone and asked permission either. So I've had a couple of friends bring like a small sample bottle or a pill bottle or a Ziploc bag, and they will bring sand home. But you don't want to be bringing reams and reams and reams of it, and you're going to want to double bag it in your luggage.
Shovel it into
And
your
it has to be
backpack.
It has to be in your checked luggage. That would have to be in your checked luggage. So again, think, sand weighs something. So you got to bring less than 50 pounds with you if you're going to be putting gifts in there, minus these 5 pounds of food you're going to eat. Yes.
How about rooming?
The question is about rooming. You're going to be assigned to a room.
We'll get to there in just a second. Let's wait until
we
we
will
get to there.
there in a second.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the housing thing, and we'll put it all in one big package.
Okay, let's move on and save the rest of the questions for later.
All right, let's talk about the itinerary a little bit, okay? You have on page 2 of your notes this itinerary. And you've seen this before as well. The gray highlight, here it shows green on the screen, but the gray highlighted days on what you got there is the days that we have the bus, okay? So those days we're moving a lot. Those are pretty fast-paced days. The days, of course, here where you don't see any highlighting, those are the days in Old City Jerusalem where the pace slows down quite a bit. We will, oh yeah, and at the bottom, and I put a red block around it, you have all of this contact information. So you got your flights information, you got your hotel contact information, websites, phone numbers, addresses, and everything. So back in December, you guys gave us a list of 2 email addresses apiece that you wanted us to send that to. We have not done that yet, but we will be doing that this week. So like I think some of you put down like family members or whatever that you wanted to make sure that they had a copy, and we're just going to mass email that out there in the coming days. So let me say a little bit about the itinerary. The purpose of our trip is what it says. It's a study tour. Not that you're officially studying, although some of you are doing an elective, but it's not a holiday trip, all right? So we're not lounging around at the beach, you know, till 11 in the morning, and then we go visit one site and come back and lounge at the beach for the rest of the day. It's going to move pretty quickly. We're trying to get you to 45 different things in 10 days, which is almost unheard of in most Israel trips, but that's our goal. We want to try to get you to see as much as we possibly can in the land. So because that's the case, we're gonna start as soon as we get out the gate. Like as soon as we're out of the airport, we are traveling up to the Sea of Galilee on that afternoon, but on our way, we are stopping to see 2, 3, maybe 4 things. And so the trip is pretty brisk at the beginning. We're going to stop at Caesarea Maritima, okay? I'm not going to show you too many pictures, but just stopping there to see where Paul was imprisoned and a lot of stuff having to do with Herod the Great. We're going to stop up on the top of Mount Carmel and get up on that. This is our first opportunity to get high in Israel, okay, in the right sense of the word, and have a great view out across the Jezreel Valley. But ultimately, we will arrive that afternoon at the Sea of Galilee, okay? And we stay right where you see that yellow arrow. So we will be there in time for supper. We usually eat supper first and then get into our rooms after dinner. Okay, that's usually the way that it works, just so you know how that's going to work. So the trip is brisk until we reach Jerusalem. And then it does slow down. So if I go back here, you know, this first, 5, 6 days, pretty brisk. It's kind of like nonstop. We're paying for 2 buses and 2 drivers and a guide, and so we want to take advantage of all of that time that we have with them. So we're going to be moving pretty consistently. In Jerusalem, it will slow down, and you'll be able to have, you know, a little bit more leisurely pace in Jerusalem. We will have some built-in time for shopping as well. So the approach that we really want you to keep in mind is the idea of early to bed, early to rise. You have to switch your body clock 6 hours, 7 hours anyway. So just from the get-go, start going to bed at a really decent hour, because everybody is up early in Israel as far as tourists are concerned. Why? Because the sites open at 8 a.m. And we can't afford to waste a lot of time. So here's kind of what it looks like. A daily schedule. Breakfast is going at 6:30 to 7:20. And you've got to be ready to roll at 6:30, because right after breakfast, we have other stuff happening. We get on the bus, we move. So everybody's expected to have done their quiet time by then, pack their bags. What I mean by pack their bags is pack what you needed for that day. Or if we're transitioning to another hotel, that would mean really pack your bags and check out of the hotel. But obviously that's an early hour. But again, you're shifting your body clock anyway, so get into the habit of going to bed at, I don't know, maybe 9, 10 o'clock. And that way you can be getting up at 5, enjoying a really good quiet time. You will kick yourself till your dying day if you don't enjoy sitting out by the Sea of Galilee with your Bible in the morning.
Absolutely.
It's just such a rare opportunity, and it's very common to see people out there. I'm out there by 5. I want to enjoy that time and not feel rushed, and then I'm ready by that point. So that means I'm not going to bed at 11 o'clock at night and midnight.
The thing is, you're all rooming together. I mean, there's several roommates together, all doing the same schedule, so you're all going to bed at the same time. It's not like you're going to miss out on anything.
And so,
You should all be going to bed at the same time.
you know, one of the ways you can really, really blow your investment of money is just by being, I'm sorry, idiotic and going to bed at ridiculous hours. You really, really want to have your energies for during the day. So, again, you will have this sheet to use for your quiet time. If you'd like to read those Bible passages, that is totally up to you. Basically, we have 50 minutes for breakfast from 6:30 to 7:20. It's a buffet situation, so you come in and you just help yourself, and it goes until 7:20. And then we have a 30 to 40, and sometimes pushing 45 minutes, orientation / teaching time with PowerPoint and everything to set us up for the day. And all that's happening before 8 a.m.
Again,
Okay.
the night before, we're going to tell you what time you need to be where in the morning.
Yep. And then our goal is to depart as close to 8 o'clock as possible, because that's when the site's open for visitors. And we will not be alone doing this. You'll see all the other groups will be doing this. So it's like if we're lagging in the morning, we're the odd people out, because everybody is up and moving quickly. So we're back to the hotel by 6 to 7 p.m. Typically supper is about 6:30. It's a little bit later than what we're kind of used to here. And evenings are generally free. There's only one evening where we need to do our orientation time in the evening because of the need to get out early the next morning. And we'll keep you in the loop on how that works. So Hebrew is going to be the main language, by the way, wherever we go, but English is well understood. So most people where where we're stopping, you can be talking to them in English, and they mostly can answer you without any difficulty. So that's a little bit about the itinerary. Number 5, let me talk to you about visiting the sites. We're trying to get you to 45 different things. And so we know that in some of those cases, we're not going to be spending as much time as maybe you would like us to spend on those sites, but we hope to whet your appetite pretty good. One of the things that we want to give you a little heads up about is be very, very careful about the religious sensibilities at some of these locations. And we'll talk about this and just kind of give people heads up throughout the time that we're there. One of the things you do not want to be doing is what this idiot is doing right here. And I permit myself to call him that because, yes, that is yours truly. I'm climbing on the ruins of Chorazin, one of the 3 towns where Jesus ministered. And this is a location where they might not be super concerned about it, but they will kick the group out if they see us climbing on there.
This was the moment where I, who was back arranging lunch, got in trouble because of this person.
I
got chewed out, major time, and we almost got kicked out, the whole group.
Well, Capernaum was the worst. Like, we had 2 guys climbing up on the synagogue, which A, is very dangerous because it's pretty high, but B, they were really, really, really ticked off, and they said, okay, the entire group needs to leave the site immediately.
And they had reason to say that.
And we negotiated and all that, and we finally got them. So the point is, be careful about that. None of this kind of thing. Okay, I'm going to put an X on that one. That is definitely not what you want to be doing.
There are ruins you can climb on, and if you see Mark climbing on them, you can. He's learned his lesson.
Yep.
Or if you have a question, come and see us, and we'll tell you yes or no.
Yep. I know this sounds kind of old-fashioned, but ladies, it's not a good idea to be wandering off on your own,
Yep.
Especially in Old City Jerusalem. Our rule is groups of 3.
With
groups
a
of
guy.
3.
It has to be at least one
And there's
guy.
got to be at least one guy in every group.
Yep.
And again, I know
A
that harks back
responsible
to old-fashioned, but it's just the reality of where things are at. And so that's what it's going to work.
Not to say that it's dangerous, but it's just to be wise.
Yep. Punctuality is really, really critical. Like, we will say, look, we're going to be on this site, we're going to leave at 2 p.m., whatever. The more that we respect our time, we'll hit everything we want to see. But if we're starting to lag, we'll have to start chopping sites. And that is really, really disappointing when you have to drive by a site and say, okay, that's where that happened, but we don't have time. So we've always had great cooperation. And the buses have 2 doors back and front, so we can unload and load, you know, double time compared to, obviously, a bus with just 1 door. Another thing I would say about visiting the sites is, you know, be prepared for surprises. I mean, almost every trip, there's going to be something going on with one site. You know, they're renovating, or something's closed, or they've decided that for whatever reason they're not allowing tourists in after a certain hour. And that's just the way things sometimes can work there. Things are constantly changing in Israel, so we got to stay flexible and we got to stay respectful. We will be traveling for the first 4 days with a very good Israeli guide, a very good friend of ours. His name is Tanas, T-A-N-N-A-S. He's a short little guy, but he's a lot of fun. And he's a silent guide, which means what? He is there simply so that we don't have any issues going into the sites that we're doing on those 4 days. Legally, we're supposed to have a guide with us. Actually, legally, because of student trip, we actually don't have to have a guide, but we can kind of get into situations where people are asking us questions like, where's your guide? So we just have Tanas come along, but he's a silent guide, so he doesn't do a lot of talking. He knows that, you know, I'm doing the bulk of the teaching. Steve Nichols is doing some of the teaching as well from our Korea campus. But be respectful of him. He's a great friend of ours and has been on 3 or 4 of our trips already.
2 years ago, he did make a profession of faith with one of our students, but in our past conversations, we don't see a whole lot happening, so engage him in conversations and see what
Really friendly guy.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's talk about housing. You've seen a couple of these pictures as well. That's a shot of En-Gev. Okay, that's the first place that we're staying. You kind of feel like you're in Florida or something, you know. It's just really a really nice place. Couple of different shots here of En-Gev. It's got a very nice beach front. That's the beach, okay? So we will have time in the evenings. It's going to be fairly cool at that time of the year, but just about everybody goes, you know what? I got to get into the Sea of Galilee.
You got to go.
I got to try walking on this water, or something to that effect. I got to try fishing for a miraculous catch or something like that. Housing is going to be 3 to 5 people per room. At En-Gev, it's 4. At our next, and by the way, we're at En-Gev for 4 nights. Our 5th night is at our only youth hostel that we use, and we're there for 1 night, okay? And this is 5 per room. So if any of you have ever been in a hostel, it's more basic.
Very clean, though.
But it's clean, and it works very well for us. This is what the hostel room looks like. Now, obviously, married couples are not being housed in groups of 5 and 6, all right?
Yeah,
we're
you're with
talking
us.
about students here. And so that is 1 night. And then our final 5 nights are at the Gloria Hotel inside the Old City of Jerusalem, and that's 3 per room. So 4 per room for the first 4 nights, 5 per room for the 5th night, and then 3 per night for the last 5 nights.
Do you want to explain how it's being done?
Yeah, a couple more pictures here of Gloria. I think I showed you maybe a couple of these. It's a pretty nice
beautiful
hotel
building.
right in Old City, Jerusalem, okay?
Beautiful.
All made out of Jerusalem limestone.
And you're inside the old walls. You're sleeping in a bed inside old Jerusalem. I mean, how cool is that? You're sleeping in a bed beside the Sea of Galilee. I mean, like, man.
So to come back to somebody's question about rooming, we have already supplied them with rooming lists. We've already divided people up. Now, I know that doesn't fit super well with everybody, but there's a couple of reasons for that. One is we do want to try to blend people together. We do want to get to know
Campuses.
other people, and that's going to help us to do that. Secondly, we have to give these lists well ahead of time to the housing locations, and trying to coordinate all of that from 6 different places around the world is just kind of crazy. So we've tried to pay attention to, like, age, for example, okay? So we don't have, like, 89-year-olds housing with 17-year-olds, okay? So we think about that. We try to keep in mind friendships that we may know about, but we make no guarantees, and we're just asking for your cooperation. You know what? I believe that God providentially supervises this whole thing. So you may end up with some folks. Everybody's going to end up with folks from other campuses somewhere along the way. So it's a neat opportunity to get to know other people. We're asking, and here's the thing, like, basically, this kind of trip, you go in your room and you crash.
You shower
and
in
you
your
get
sleep,
back
and
out
that's
of the
all.
room and you hit the road again. So it's not like we're partying till 3 a.m. with my friends. Like, in some ways, it might be better that you're not with all your friends.
Probably.
Because, you know, you got to get that sleep. So that's how we do it.
And if there's an issue, and there have been legitimate issues in the past, you just come and see me.
Come see Lori.
I'm your housing coordinator. Come see me,
Yep.
and we'll work it out.
And again, I've already said enough about bedtime and stuff. Just protect your investment of your time, and also don't compromise the investment of other people.
Of other people,
too,
yeah.
you know.
Prefer others.
Yep. Let me talk about meals. Now, this is not a fine cuisine trip, okay, but you're going to eat well.
man.
So the
All
two
you
main
can eat.
meals are breakfasts and supper. Okay, like here is just the salad bar from Enget, okay? And there's like 3 other locations with piles of food. So there's going to be a little bit of something for everybody, that is for sure. There's going to be North American style food. There's going to be Israeli type food. There's always rice, which our Asian friends are thrilled with.
Not always
well,
rice. Not
quite
always.
frequently, at least at Engev.
At Engev, yeah.
Not so much at Gloria.
There's always a fish, there's always a chicken,
Yep.
there's always, and then occasionally another meat in the morning. There's always eggs, usually boiled, plus a different type of egg for your protein. There's bread, there's yogurt, there's granola, there's milk, there's cereal. And in the morning at the buffets, for all of them, they have fruit and vegetables, raw fish again. They have salad. I mean, it's amazing what you can eat there. And I suggest eat it all and enjoy it.
That salad bar basically is there even for breakfast.
Yeah.
People eat that in Israel a lot.
One
that
question.
Kind of stuff.
Are there any types of food you recommend we don't eat when we're there?
Question is, are there any types of food we recommend you don't eat when you're there? That is foods you are allergic to. I suggest you don't eat. No, you can eat anything that's in the restaurants. You can feel free. It's safe. If you're concerned that, if you have a diet where you eat something and you often have a reaction, or, your stomach feels kind of sick, if you eat something weird, don't eat it. Just eat normal food. Yes.
While we're on the topic of food, is there any culturally sensitive manners that we should be aware of related to eating?
Are there any culturally sensitive manners related to
Eating.
eating in Israel? Don't eat with your mouth full.
Not that I'm aware of.
Nothing different than here.
Nothing that we wouldn't kind of be normal, standard, just
We
basic
just
common sense.
would be common sense. Like, don't get super rowdy in the dining room. We are one group among 6 in there eating, that kind of stuff. There may come a time when we'll say, okay, guys, we need to get out of here because there's a large group coming in. Let's finish up right away. But
This place right here that you're seeing the picture, they assign us a time for our group and they assign us a location within the dining room.
both places
So
do.
we'll set, and we're probably the largest group that's going to be there, I would guess. And so they're probably going to give us a whole section, and we need to, of course, respect that and
We'll show
stay in
you.
that section.
We're there every meal to greet you and
Yep.
tell you where to sit, tell you where to go.
Yep.
Yeah, another question.
What about kind of like cultural manners that we should be aware of?
In what way?
Cultural mannerisms is the question. Are there any cultural mannerisms? Honestly, there's not a lot that stands out to us in relation to that. I mean, a lot of it's just the common sense type of stuff that we would have around here, respect for people.
You don't talk about weapons. I mean, that's just
Yeah,
a
I would
common thing,
avoid
you
all
don't-
talk about
yeah.
weapons, violence,
You don't
terrorism.
fool around with the police. You don't. I mean, you can engage them in conversation, but you don't. Try to take selfies with them. That kind of thing.
All right, let's talk about lunches. Okay, so breakfast and supper are at the hotels, and it's all you can eat. And we're going to encourage you, like, those are your big meals of the day. So stock up. Lunch, we do quite differently from most. Most tour groups stop at restaurants, hikes the price way up. Secondly,
Takes your
kills
time.
an hour and a half out of the middle of your day. Now,
That's
we
2
will go
cents.
to a couple of spots where we will get some food from a restaurant, but we have a method that we've been using for several years that works very well, and it's called the pita method. And you guys are going to get used to pita bread, but this is not pita bread the likes that we have here in North America. This is really good stuff. It's much thicker. We get it fresh every morning.
No preservatives in it.
And the way that we
Like manna.
function for our lunch is try to basically have a moving, mobile, picnic-type lunch situation. So tonight we are providing to each of you 2 Ziploc bags. In one of the bags, it's full of items like granola bars, trail mix, crackers and cheese. What else is in there? That's
about it.
That type of thing. Okay, a blend of stuff. 2 of those per day. Okay, and then we have a package here of basic peanut butter and jelly packages. Because you get your pita bread, what are you going to put on it? Well, you just carve it out your peanut butter right out of there. So what we do is, and we're going to give this to you tonight, they weigh exactly 3.5 pounds. And so you say, well, that means that I can't, that's 3.5 pounds less stuff I can bring over. Well, think of the genius of this system, my
He's
friends.
so smart.
You're going to carry this over. It's going to take up space in your luggage. It's going to take up weight. Then you're going to consume it. And you're going to have that weight and space for all your souvenirs coming back. Isn't that incredible? That is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
So,
That's why I married him.
actually, no, we thought of this together. So, there are inside this Ziploc bag are 2 smaller Ziploc bags. Why? So that every morning you can pack your 2 to 3 peanut butter and jellies in there and not have to drag all this with you on the bus. You leave that back in your room.
And also because
And you put your 2 granola items or whatever.
because the peanut butter and jelly, they do pierce sometimes in your knapsack, and you don't want to get that all over your Bible, your hoodie, or whatever else is in there. So you have 2, that's enough bags to get you through the 10 days.
So we get fresh fruit, we get pita, we sometimes literally pull off the side of the road, go into a grocery store. And by the way, when we do the grocery runs, we can't have both buses running into the grocery store, okay? We select 2 or 3 people to go in. We do a quick, we just buy what we know we need very, very quickly, and we just keep moving. Because our goal is minimum amount of time spent for lunch, okay? We just want to keep going on the go. We have water bottles on the buses, so we hand out a water bottle to everybody at lunchtime. And that's your traditional, sealed cap water bottle, okay? So that's fresh water. So, here's a shot of what it kind of looks like. We stop, we sometimes spread stuff out on the ground if it's hygienic to do it. It depends on what we're trying to spread out. But this, my friends, is a very good lunch right here. Strawberries, pita, and a Mars bar. No, I'm just kidding. We don't provide the Mars bars, okay? But there's a shot of a pita lunch, okay? Right there in Old City, Jerusalem. Everybody with their pita and whatnot, just having lunch. And it's become a legend, the pitas of Israel. We talk about it after we get back, okay? So we need to keep moving because the time is advancing quickly
We have a question
here.
from Guy, and I don't know what
Yep.
the answer is.
Yeah, those of you that we meet in Israel, we will have them with us to give to you. So
And remember, this needs to go in your checked. The peanut butter and jellies have to absolutely go in your checked.
those of you joining us at the airport in JFK, the Wallaces will have them. There's only 3 or 4 of you that aren't here tonight, and they will give it to you. So keep room in your luggage to put it in your luggage before you get on the plane at JFK. Those of you joining us in Israel, we will have those bags. We'll be bringing them over, and you'll get them when we are in Israel. So let me just check here. Oh, yeah, you also have in your Ziploc bag that contains the granola bars, you have one of these, 2 of these. This is called Zip Fizz, my friends. This is energy stuff. Why do we put that in there?
natural.
Because you're probably going to need a little bit of that, especially on day 1.
At about 12 p.m., 1 p.m.
Yeah, so you might want to keep that in mind. You'll have 2 of these in your Ziploc bag, and you put this in a water bottle. There's no sugar in this. It's a natural product,
it
and it will
does.
give you some energy.
It does have 225 milligrams of caffeine. So if you don't normally drink caffeine, you'd only put half of that in your water bottle. You want to think in terms of that, because if you're not a caffeine drinker of any kind, you're going to be doing this. You'll really enjoy your trip, but you'll be
Do not
you'll be
put
the subject of much conversation.
Do not put those bags in your carry-on luggage, especially the peanut butter and jelly. That needs to go into your checked luggage that goes under the plane, because they might prevent you from taking it onto the aircraft inside the cabin, okay? So make sure you pack those into your checked luggage. They are all lined up here in alphabetical order. Your names are on them so that we know for sure that you got it. Okay, so they are there for after our meeting. Now, there are 6 people meeting us in Israel to whom we cannot get the bags. So that means I have 12 bags to take to Israel, and I'm going to be looking for 12 volunteers who'd be willing to take an extra bag. Okay? So
In your luggage, which means, hey, more space, more weight when you leave Israel.
Yep. So, but you're only taking 1, not both. Okay, I want 12 volunteers.
I want to see 12 hands right away.
Yep.
Lift them up.
Oh, we got
Okay,
quite
so
a few.
all of you, the bags are in the box right there. Just grab one
This
bag.
cardboard box contains those bags.
Yep.
Okay? And as soon as we get to the airport at not JFK, in Tel Aviv, we'll be asking you for them. Pull them out of your luggage, and we will hand them to the Oliveras, to the Williams, to others that are meeting us there in Israel. Okay? So that's how that is going to work. The Owen Sound Group, you already got your bags 2 weeks ago when I was up there.
Hopefully
I
you
brought
haven't
them,
eaten them.
and hopefully you have not eaten them, all right? So that's how the Zip Fizz thing works. Finally, when we come back on the plane, of course this applies to those of you that are coming back to JFK, we'll kind of do the same thing coming back when we have our layover in Istanbul. If we have the time, you know, if we have a long enough layover, etc., then we have $15 again to give to you guys. We'll be on the plane with you guys that time because we're coming home with you to JFK. And we will make sure you have that. But that one is the iffiest one of all because we have found it, we often don't have quite enough time. So that's why it would be a good idea if you have any of those food items left over at the end of the Israel trip, throw them in your carry-on on the plane, okay? All right, so under the heading of miscellaneous, just 2 or 3 last items. This is kind of like this little housekeeping thing. Even though we are on a break, this is a Word of Life sponsored trip. And so our expectation is that the standard of conduct is still functioning through this trip, okay? So we're not going out to, you know, the bar every night, whatever. So the Word of Life standard of conduct is, just so that we're clear on that, it does apply during our time. And those of you that are alumni, of course, we recognize that you're not students. We would kindly request, though, that you refrain from using alcohol during the trip. That would be our one request. But those of us that are staff and students, we want to honor that, and so we are on a Word of Life sponsored trip. If you want to read something to prepare yourself for the trip, I just always recommend reading the Gospel of Mark before we ever leave. You would read it during the trip. If you're going to follow our suggested reading plan, you're going to end up reading it there too. But it's a great way to prepare yourself, except this time when you read it, try to pay closer attention to place names, locations, because you're going there. You're going to see that. So it might be a very different way to read the Bible for a change in a sense, but it's an excellent way to get ready. Also, for those of you here in New York, Lori and I want to put on your radar that we are going to do an Israel trip reunion on Friday evening, May 4th. So keep it in mind, it's going to be at our place. We hope the weather's going to be nice enough we can get a fire going in the backyard. We're going to do a little Israel trip reunion at the Strout home on the 4th of May from 7 to 9 p.m. So you might want to just note that. We'll remind you of that. So we put up on the screen the text number, the email address, and if there's any that remain that haven't been already sent in.
There's one there.
Yeah, there's no way for us to get the yellow luggage tags to the alumni. We just don't have a way of doing it. We just got them. So
if you're meeting Debbie and Peter at JFK and are not here tonight, you will
yeah,
have
that's
one
true.
of these.
That's true.
We'll
if you're meeting us at JFK.
We'll send that with Peter and Debbie for those of you that are going to meet them there.
Yep.
Before all the questions come out, food allergy people, anybody that has issues with eating, stomach issues, I really need to talk to you tonight. If you're out there somewhere, email me, text me, we need to talk. I just need to be sure of who has what allergies. I need to tell you how to be prepared for that. Also, if any of you cannot swallow pills, and sometimes that happens, you can only take liquid medication, you have to bring your own liquid Tylenol, liquid ibuprofen, all of that stuff. I don't carry anything liquid. I do carry the hardcore. I guess you might call it the real stuff. If you're someone that tends to have migraines, be sure to bring your migraine medication with you. If you're someone that tends to take Tylenol every day, bring it with you. I do have a stash of that coming with me, but I can't be serving it out to everybody every day. But I will have basics, Tylenol, ibuprofen, Imodium if you happen to get diarrhea. I'll have stuff for allergies like Benadryl. I'll have a Polysporin, Band-Aids, Ace bandages, a crutch, that kind of stuff, literally. So that's important. Now, if you are taking any medications, I need to see you also. Beyond any kind of a prescription medication, I need to be aware of that. It's not something I'm going to share with other people, but I need to be aware of that in case something happens to you on the trip so that I can answer questions on your behalf. Question over here. Absolutely. Yeah, any medications you take, you just keep them with you. It's not a problem. And I wouldn't need to know about Excedrin, but maybe if you're someone who's prone to migraines, it's good for me to know because you're someone I'm going to watch and make sure that you're hydrated all the time. Because that will make if you're not hydrated, your migraines will come on faster.
With like basic Tylenol or ibuprofen, can we keep that in our carry-on case or should we keep that in our...
All basic medications you can have on your carry-on on the airplane. If it is an injectable, like I have an injectable, I have to have the script on it from my doctor. You know, the one that comes on the package, that has to be on there. If it's a liquid medication, you need to have it under 10 milliliter, in a less than a 10 milliliter bottle if possible. If you go to your pharmacy, ask them for 10 milliliter bottles and less, ask them to put labels on, and if you need to bring 5, you bring 5, but carry that with you. Any script medication, I do not recommend you check, because if your luggage gets lost and you need it the next day, you're up a creek. Yes?
Would it be advantageous for us to exchange money in Istanbul when we land there for a 4-hour layover, and is that a better exchange rate?
It's best to change all your money over in Israel. Save
I
all
don't
your
think
cash.
they would change into Israeli money at Istanbul.
And you would
I don't
pay
think so.
you'd pay a lot more anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're
Turkish
traveling on
Airlines.
Turkish Airlines, you guys here. Anybody
Yep.
going out of JFK is Turkish Airlines. The rest of you, you already know who you're going with.
And we've been using them for a few years now, and they really do a good job. Good job. Peter has one.
What's the official group name?
Just Word of Life. That's what we're
Or on
registered
your
with
yellow
the
tag,
airlines.
Yeah. Just Word of Life. Yeah.
And you, as a Commonwealth, do you want us to use the Word of Life address for that process?
No, put your personal address
yeah,
because
most people put their
if
personal.
it gets lost coming back, it's going to be shipped to your,
To
you're
your
gonna-
home.
Oh, actually to wherever your home, most
Yeah.
likely, or at least that's the address you're
Yep.
going to think to use when you make a claim for lost luggage.
Maybe put Word of Life Bible Institute just to get to be
For the
clearer.
group name.
Yeah. By the way, this is random. I just thought of it. I forgot to mention. One thing that we will also hand to you when you get to Tel Aviv, and we're all there waiting. Remember, we're going to get the food bags from the 12 of you that are going to take them. But one thing that we're going to give to you is a audio receiver, which you can wear around your neck or put on your belt, and you can plug your own earbuds into it, or it will come with earbuds as well. And that is so that I don't totally trash my voice within the first 24 hours. So I wear a microphone. It transmits out to a distance of about 100 feet or so, and everybody has their own receiver. It is your responsibility, and if you lose it, it's $100. And it happened one time, and the student came with his $100 right away, so it was really good. But once you have that receiver, that's your responsibility. You keep it through the rest of the trip. We will collect them on the last day. It has just transformed the trips for us when we went to this
You
system.
can hear Mark.
You
Doesn't
can
matter
hear
where you're
so
standing.
much better.
If you see Mark, you hear Mark. So it works really well.
And also in Israel, I will always be wearing a bright shirt, the likes of which I'm wearing right now, okay? So that when we're on the sites, you can always spot, like, where is he going? Because I'm, like, sort of leading everybody. So I always try to wear something that's bright colored. And, of course, I got that microphone, and so you should be able to hear just fine. So, like, if you're lingering a little behind to take a picture or whatever, at least you're still hearing the commentary of what's going on.
Questions? Any texts? I have no more texts or emails that have come in. Yeah, I have one.
Put a stick of gum in, like a pack of gum in our carry-on.
Yep.
You're allowed to bring gum in your carry-on online. Yep, no problem. It's liquids that are the issue, nothing more than 10 milliliters, and has to be in a Ziploc bag, and a maximum of 3, I think, liquid containers, unless it's medication. Laundry, is there a laundry available along the way? At Engev, our first place, which we stay, 3 nights, is it, Mark? There is a laundry facility there, 2 washers, 2 dryers. You have to buy their tokens, and you might as well buy their soap because that's how they sell it, tokens and soap. They can't separate them out. Forget how much they are.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't remember.
It's under $1,000.
It's in your first 3 days, so you can do it there. And you can do it at the hotel. You can get laundry done in the hotel. You drop it off in the morning. You get it back when you walk back in at 4 in the afternoon. Costs $2.50 for a pair of jeans, 50 cents socks and underwear. A shirt's $1.50. So you can do things like that. But what I recommend is you bring some laundry detergent. If it's liquid, put it in a small travel bottle in a Ziploc bag in your checked luggage. Just wash something out in the sink in the bathroom and just hang it. I actually bring 4 plastic hangers so I can hang it in the shower quite easily, and it doesn't bother this one when he goes to take a shower. It's easily
There you go.
removable, and so for your roommates too. And I just wash stuff out, and it dries overnight. Really dries from that morning to the next day.
You're smart.
Thank you.
Bordering
but you
on
can
genius.
do laundry at the Gloria, so you do have that a possibility. But if you figure it out. If you got any more questions, let me know. Yes.
What phone number should we put for this? Because I'm going to keep my phone in airplane mode the entire time.
The phone number that you want to put on there is going to be, in this case, your personal phone number. No, let's put your phone number.
Yeah, you can put mine if you
We'll
want.
put Mark's phone number, which is
7960928.
It's
It's on your
paper.
itinerary paper.
Yeah.
If you look at the bottom of the itinerary paper, the
You can
very
put-
last line has my phone number.
You can actually put both his phone number and your phone number. That way, if it's lost going over, they're going to
Yep.
contact him. If it's lost coming back, they can contact him, and we can say, hey, choose the other number on the paper, or they might contact you first. Question? Yes? Should we use a water bottle with a filter in it? Question is there any place we cannot get water from when we have a filtered water bottle? Because we've recommended you all buy a
If
water.
you don't have a filtered water bottle,
Oh,
is
if you
what she's
don't have a
asking.
filtered water bottle, you can take the water from the hotel. It's more chlorinated than here. Any of the hotels, you can get water there on site. If it's a drinking fountain, you can get it from there, but really, it's like anywhere else. You really want, you go to Walmart, you drink out of the water fountain out of desperation. At least I do. I don't, because everybody else is drinking out of the water fountain. So you could, but we really do recommend you bring a filtered water bottle. You can get them like a Brita. You can get one at Walmart for under $10, I think. Doesn't have to be anything super duper, because any location where you would be getting water to fill that filtered water bottle is going to be relatively safe anyway. It's just like a level of protection for you. Okay? If somebody else has a filter in their water bottle, they can filter it for you too. They could just fill their bottle, squeeze it into your bottle if you can't afford to buy one. Okay? Question? The hotels that we're staying at do provide you with maybe 2 little bottles of shampoo and 1 little thing of soap. So don't count on using it because you're 3 to 5 people in a room. So you need to bring your own shampoo and cream rinse and body wash and all that kind of stuff. To save weight in your suitcase, don't bring a full bottle. Bring just what you think you'll need. Any other questions? Let me just check my phone. Okay, nothing there. Okay.
So we're going to just close in prayer, and then the 12 of you, or whatever that were
12, yeah.
willing, I think it was even more than 12, if you can grab one bag out of this box here, okay? And this is the items that's going to the people that we will meet in Tel Aviv. And then everybody, you have 2 bags up here, okay? And your names are on them. And they're in alphabetical order, right, Lori?
Yes, they are.
Starting
Yes,
with
they are.
Carrie B. and continuing all the way along there, so.
And then I need to see those of you that have issues with food and health and medication. And if you want another one of these for your backpack, I do have some extra that I can share with you.
All right, I'm going to ask Peter if he could close us in prayer. That would be fantastic.
Heavenly Father, we just want to say thank you so much for the privilege of allowing us to be here in the Word of Life, following your life, and how that worked out in your son's life as we go overseas. And we just pray that as a group that we would be great ambassadors of our relationship with you, certainly ambassadors of our wonderful country here, and of course of the fine institution that we represent. Dear God, we just pray that you would bless us in every way, harmonize us, Lord, encourage us, unify us, and just I pray that you would use this in such a mighty way to change our lives forever. And we just thank you for the privilege of going, and we thank you for everything the Strouts have put into this, and all the other support people to make this happen. So, Father, we just give you the honor and the glory, and we just thank you for this special moment that we'll have and share together. In Jesus' precious name, amen.
Amen, amen, amen. All right. We are done, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, we can handle more questions if you want to come see us. So there's the cardboard box for our 12 volunteers, and snacks are all over there. Don't eat them before you leave. Shalom.